Hello and greetings from Iceland. Today's update is a big information package that includes geology, rescue operations, insurance issues, and of course the people of Grindavík and their future. So you will hear what they have to say, because there are things that they themselves will always explain better than me. And it is very important to listen to them, because it has become clear that Icelanders are dealing with a natural disaster of a completely different type than we had to deal with before, as the foundations of an entire town are simply gone, or broken, fractured, and still sinking. And now we have the second depression valley running through town, beside the first one that was formed on November 10th. The new one is up to 1 kilometer wide and 30 centimeters deep, and still sinking, and experts say that the magma is not deep down, and due to how fractured the ground is, it doesn't take much effort to squeeze up some more magma in the south part of town, and that's why it remains closed. We have already lost one person into a fracture, so that is not going to happen again. Many residents are, however, waiting to get home, and this time to empty their houses, but it has to wait, and as for today, it's a lot of fresh snow in town, making things even more dangerous. But there is some glimmer of light in the darkness, and the energy company has managed to bypass the water pipelines that went under the lava, and if that operation had not been successful, the whole system would have been destroyed. And very soon actually, since it's cold now. Not just the main grid, but the house grid as well, including the ovens. The lava barriers, they did help, although some thought they wouldn't. And the construction is still ongoing, or to make them higher, the magma chamber is filling up again, or this vicious cycle I mentioned the other day. And it is suspected that the influx of magma is more than ever before. But we will know more about it in a few days with more data. And we know it now, that round 4 is just around the corner. The next eruption might be just a few weeks away. And what will this round 4 include? We just can't say, but we have seen some samples already. But what we do know for sure is that the people of Grindavík have had enough. So let's look back to 2020. Since then, 3 eruptions have occurred outside the town. 1 eruption just by the town, and the last one inside the town. And then we have several failed magma intrusions under the mountain Thorbjörn, and they all came with thousands or tens of thousands of earthquakes each. So it's hard to imagine what those people have already went through. And all this time they had one clear goal, or to get through this no matter what. But that is, however, changing now, since those people are also realistic, and they say now, let's just let things cool down and make ourselves a good home elsewhere, until we see what the future brings. Some of those people are living in industrial housings, cabins, summer houses, with relatives, or just wherever they could find something usable, or almost usable. And Grindavík is a community in tatters, literally. Everything is temporary. And those who were hoping to move back soon, they have no more patience for short-term solutions. And it's not hard to understand why. Although geology isn't simple, the harsh reality has become very simple. It may be years until normal life in Grindavík becomes possible. And in a few years, the town might not even be there. That is what the experts are saying, and we don't even need to hear it from them. It's enough to look at the history through basic geology knowledge, since this event is simply too large and too close by the town. So a few days ago, a meeting was held with the former residents of Grindavík, with politicians, geologists, the civil defense, and other relevant parties. The meeting was emotional, and many were angry, disappointed, and afraid. One of our leading scientists was confirming there that he believed it would most likely be years before people can think about to return, but I think that the townspeople knew it already. And I had a feeling that the speech from the Prime Minister came as a more shock to the residents, or when she was talking about lava barriers and mapping fissures.
Okkar færasti vísindamaður, einn af þeim, og fleiri eru hér, á heimsvísu var að tala. Hann var að segja það við okkur, að við þyrftum að undirbúa okkur undir það að samkvæmt öllum vísindalegustu gögnunum, þá muni þetta tímabil sem stendur yfir taka einhver ár. Á sama tíma þá talar ríkisstjórnin okkar, sem var örugglega að reyna að gera sitt besta, en ég ætla bara að segja þetta samt. Hún talar skammtímaúrræði. Hvaða samræmir í þessu?
Then we got the Minister of Finance, who got a bit stuck in formalities. Everything was extremely complicated, but again, those people were in no mood for that. It did absolutely nothing for them to hear that the houses that were destroyed during the November 10th event would be compensated this week, because every house in town is actually useless. It cannot be sold or rented.
Erfiðasti dagurinn frá 10. nóvember var þegar ég vaknaði morguninn og ég sá að húsið mitt var ekki brunnið. Húsið mitt við hraunjaðarinn. Þannig að ef húsið mitt hefur brunnið, þá hef ég fengið fjárhagslegt sjálfstæði, ég hef fengið vissu og ég geta byggt upp nýtt heimili og þessi snara sem utan mig væri farin. Ég vil að þið skiljið þetta.
But the computer says no. And this woman did a great job explaining how the people felt there. Although this event was not within the framework that the insurance covers, we are talking about an insurance fund that is in fact a public institution with its own independent finances, and strictly speaking it's not covering the rest of the town, only the houses that are damaged or ruined completely. So you can just imagine how those people feel, stuck with the mortgage, although most of them had the payments freezed for a while, and move into a rental market that is awful. So this made me think about the purpose of this fund and skip the red tape for a while. In 1973, it was the Nordic nations that helped us to establish this emergency fund for those who lost their houses during the Westman Island disasters. And a big part of that money was used to import houses that we could assemble quickly. And those houses, they do still exist here in Iceland, all around the country. And we do actually have a big district in Grindavík with those houses. But now, after this disaster, the government has decided to buy apartments from the general market as a temporary solution, which of course has negative effects on the market. And I said right from the beginning, after November 10th, that we should have imported houses like in 1973, or houses that we can import in containers and assemble fast, and even tiny houses that can be easily moved later on, or changed into summer houses and such. So in my opinion, we should have done that right away. But most importantly, since the insurance fund was established, despite the changes in the framework, like we included avalanches, mudslides and more, this fund that we own had only one purpose, or to ensure that those who lose a real estate due to a natural disaster will get their property compensated. That is why every house owner in Iceland pays an extra insurance premium into this fund that has been operating for 50 years now. So political denial and the legal formalities, they were not working for the residents of Grindavík. So things got hot for a while.
Til dæmis svo Þórdís Kolbrún nefnir hérna að kostar ykkur 115 milljarða að borga okkur út. 115 milljarða. Gerið ykkur grein fyrir því hvað Grindavík hefur skaffað mikið gjaldeyri inn í þetta land. Gerið ykkur grein fyrir því. Gerið ykkur grein fyrir því hvað útgerðarfélögin okkar, stór glæsileg útgerðarfélögin okkar, útgerðarmenn, hér sitja gamli skipstjórar og sjómenn og við fiskvinnslufólk sem unnu baki í brotnu við að byggja upp þetta bæjarfélag. Hvað er þetta 50-60 milljarðar á ári sem að Grindavík að skapa í gjaldeyri? Og svo Bláalónin líka. Og þið eitthvað að velta fyrir ykkur 115 milljörðum. Það eru smáaurar í samanburði við það sem Grindavík hefur fært íslensku þjóðarbúi. Það bara þannig.
I can't add much to this. It is of course not without some pain for the state to come up with money for this, but the legal issues are of course just an excuse to buy time. It took us one afternoon to refinance the whole Icelandic banking system after it collapsed in 2008, so we could use our plastic cards the same day. And it's not going to take us longer time to get those people from the snare, even less time than it took us to bail out the banks in 2008. And despite the price tag, the town doesn't have to be a full write-off. If we get extremely lucky and a few years pass without any incidents, the general idea is that the former house owners can buy back their properties if the town becomes safe again. Some of those houses can be used for research purposes. The town could become a geological institution on its own for a while, and after it has been scanned with ground-penetrating radars, thermal drones and all available technology to see if it's safe to walk there, the rental market could maybe kick in for a while, or short-term accommodation. And it is not as the town doesn't lack tourist attractions now. So we would of course like to minimize the damage for the state and look at ways to do that. Tens of thousands of earthquakes have shaken Grindavík for 4 years now. But this is, however, not just a natural disaster. This is an economic disaster as well. But we are, however, a rich nation as for natural resources. So this is stirring up a lot of emotions here in Iceland. And those emotions will, of course, be a part of the unfolding story that I will of course continue to cover from all angles. And never would I have suspected that this insignificant video that I made about unusual land uplift by the mountain Thorbjörn in 2020 would be the first of a series that would lead me to perhaps the worst natural disaster in the history of Iceland. Not only changing our landscape, so I'm just like everyone else trying to digest the news. But first of all, we have an obligation to do everything we can to help the people from Grindavík to get a safe place to stay. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.